Jordan and Gretzky, Serena and Ruth. Remembering great ones is easy to do. But what about the no-names who spent their whole lives long snapping footballs and catching sack flies? They're guys, remember that guy. Remember that guy, remember that guy, remember that guy, remember that guy. They're just gonna remember some guys now.
What a marvelous moment for baseball. What a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol. And it is a great moment for all of us, particularly for Remember That Guy, the show where we mine our memories for nuggets of nostalgia about peripheral players past and present. Hey there, folks. It's me, one of your hosts, James, here with a guy who will never be silenced by Major League Baseball or the Atlanta Baseball Club.
I refuse to be silenced, especially by anybody from Atlanta. Diaz back with you once again. We do have a very special guest. He did not break the Babe's home run record, but he did break another record. Please introduce yourself.
That's right. It's me, the very special guest, Xavier, who broke the record for most times watching the Babe hit home runs on grainy YouTube footage that was probably made by AI without stopping for any sort of food or sustenance.
I think you could set that record, Xavier, and I'd like to see you try. In the meantime, though, I would love it if you could tell me what it is that is making memories for you right about now.
There's way too many things right now, so I'm going to just kind of go through the list of all the saved articles I've had from the past week. The first one is Memphis prostrating itself to the Big 12 and still getting told to fuck off, which might be the funniest thing I've ever seen. So Memphis, if you haven't heard, tried the SMU model of, hey, please let us in your conference. We'll pay you and you don't have to pay us at all. It worked for SMU. It did not work for Memphis. According to The Athletic, University of Memphis pitched the Big 12 with an offer to bring $200 million plus in sponsorship money, thanks to their massive pockets of FedEx, as well as not taking a single cent of media money over the first 5 years, and giving the Big 12 the option to kick them out during that first 5 years if they didn't think they were bringing enough value. Literally zero risk for the Big 12. And the Big 12 still said, we have no interest in you, Memphis. Go do something else.
More like no Tigers. Am I right?
I mean, imagine just like volunteering yourself to be in the cuck chair, and they're like, nah, we actually feel a little bad for you. You shouldn't do that. Please leave.
Literally, the thing that they put in here was that multiple league sources expressed concern that adding Memphis could, quote, dilute the league's value in the next television deal. They were so afraid of Memphis taking zero money, giving them all this sponsorship money, but being so shitty that it diluted future TV deals, they still said nah. So, sucks to be Memphis. I have another wild college basketball related thing. There was a NBA league memo sent by one of the top lawyers to all of its general managers a week or so ago, or a week or so before the NBA draft, about a interesting issue that we have not seen before, but might be more relevant in the future. This memo was about draft rights. And normally, if a European player comes over, a European player is eligible for the NBA draft. When they're 22, they're automatically eligible without having to do anything and could get drafted even without submitting themselves to be selected. And there are multiple 22-year-old European players who have come to college basketball now because they can get paid doing it. They've played professionally in Europe, and now they are trying to play professionally in college while also getting an education. And legally, they could be drafted without their consent while still going to college. And the question was, what happens with their draft rights if they say, no, we don't want to be drafted, I want to wait until after I'm done with college? So based on the NBA's current interpretation, it's still a draft and stash. Even if they're in college, it is a draft and stash now. But they might have to revisit that based off of if this becomes a bigger issue. And I love little minutia like that where it's, oh, we've opened the box of college is also just a professional basketball league. We have to treat it like a professional basketball league in terms of player eligibility for draft purposes, which is fantastic. And I can't wait to see the first time this actually happens with someone getting drafted against their will while they come to the U.S. to go to college. Are we ready for the Women's Sports Hour, aka Minute? Because I'm going to rapid fire some women's sports stuff.
Hell yeah. Always ready.
Olivia Smith, first £1 million soccer transfer in women's sports history. Arsenal purchased her from Liverpool. For those of you who don't know, 20-year-old from Canada. Most expensive player ever. Really excited to see what happens with Olivia Smith. Emma Miesemann is back in the WNBA after 3 years out. After she won finals MVP and then left and did not come back. And now she's back. And she's back with the Liberty. And I am super excited to see how Emma Miesemann does. We need a center. We need someone to give us some size. And she is really, really good. Arsenal women crush it in the Euros. Michelle Adjumang scored the equalizer in the quarterfinals against Sweden. They then won on penalties. Worst penalty shootout ever. But 2 of the 3 makes were by Arsenal women. Michelle Adjumang, 96th minute, second to last minute of stoppage time today, scores to equalize against Italy to send it to extra time, which is going on right now. Very excited to see what happens with that. Also, if you have not done so, go look at Pablo Torre's reporting on the NFLPA and the fucking insane coup shit that JC Treader did to install a dude who had no experience and had committed allegedly sexual assaults and embezzlement and fraud and was voted down 10-1 by the players committee as we should not make this guy our fucking NFLPA head. But they hid that information from the actual player voters when voting time happened because JC Treader wanted someone to be the head where he could run the whole thing for a couple of years and then install himself as the NFLPA head, all meanwhile colluding with the NFL to hide the fact that the NFL was colluding against players in order to also hide the fact that JC Treader got the entire NFLPA in trouble for saying that players should fake injuries to extend contract holdouts. It's absolutely insane shit, and it's incredible reporting.
It's it feels like the Mike Richards Jeopardy saga. This producer who's just like conveniently installing himself eventually as the this is just the choice that everything is kind of landed at. Isn't that such a coincidence? Diaz, do you have quite as dense of a amount of memories being made for you right now?
Not a dense amount. There's in fact a specific one, and it happened last night as we record. And this will serve as a good little appetizer for kind of what we're talking about with our guests today. But we love baseball. It's America's pastime. And as it is America's pastime, there are always some crazy things that we didn't think were possible that we maybe thought had never even happened before that do find a way to happen and make some memories for us. And last night, Philadelphia Phillies had one of those. 2-2 after 9 innings. The Phillies are at home playing against the Boston Red Sox. First of all, shout out Drew Lazar coming in, top 10, 2 strikeouts, and kept the runner from scoring. Really sets the table for the bottom of the 10th, and so important to not let a run in.
Can I just say something real quick? There's a lot of interleague matchups that feel wrong. Like, I'm probably going to go see the Orioles play the Rockies this weekend. That's weird. That's a weird matchup. Phillies Red Sox, so natural. Like, it feels as though it should have been happening for the last 5,000 years.
Yeah, the Philly Boston of it all. And, obviously Boston tends to get one over on us. We'll always have Super Bowl 52. But last night, Phillies go extras. They go bottom 10. And the reliever, Jordan Hicks, I believe, comes in for the Boston Red Sox. Phillies, the classic, hey, if we didn't give up the run, get him over, get him in. They're trying to lay down the sacrifice bunt, and it's 4 straight balls. None of them even particularly close to the strike zone. Next batter comes up, first pitch. He's still trying to bunt him over. Pitches behind and which presents an interesting choice for Alex Cora, and he decides to intentionally walk, despite having a pitcher on who just threw 5 straight balls, each less close to the zone to the previous. And it sets the scene for Edmundo Sosa to come up with the bases loaded, nowhere for anybody to go, and nobody out in the bottom of the 10th. Gets it to a 2-2 count. There's a pitch, trending towards the outside corner, but it's breaking away, so he's able to realize and go for his check swing. And pretty immediately on his check swing, he starts pointing to the umpire, and I'm like, what's he obviously didn't swing. They called it a ball. What could this complaint possibly be about? And it was John Kruk who first pointed out, I think he's calling for catcher's interference here. And sure enough, we look at the replay, very clearly strikes the mitt with the bat, and that's the ball game. It's as simple as that. The Phillies did not make contact with a single ball in the entirety of extra innings, but they did make contact with a glove, and because of that, they walk it off with the win.
2 things on this. One, I know the ghost runner is always an unearned run. Like, does not count as an earned run for statistical purposes. This is the most literal interpretation of that I've ever seen. This is the most unearned run that has maybe ever existed in baseball. You got it. It's not me disputing. It's a great way for a game to end. And in particular, I think the most important part of this is that it ends on the replay of the catcher's interference. It's not just catcher's interference on a checked swing, which would already be great, but it's that you get the walk-off energy of everybody mobbing the dude on a video replay.
I hate so many things that Rob Manfred does, but it's almost like a double negative. I hate the ghost runner and I hate video review, but when you combine the two, it actually turns out to be something pretty darn stupid and interesting and cool. Not the first time in MLB history that a game ended on a walk-off catcher's interference. It was the first time since 1971. Do either of you know the teams involved or the catcher whose glove was hit?
This feels like a Yankees thing. Let's say it was Thurman Munson and the Yankees, and they lost to the Red Sox.
Angels? Okay. I just think the Angels are involved. It just feels like the Angels are involved in 1971 if they exist, which I think they do.
I think they existed. The color red existed. Explicitly, the Cincinnati Reds existed.
Of course, it's the Reds.
It was Johnny Bench who had his glove hit by a batter who I incredibly cannot find. I'm sure if I would have looked up the specific game, I would have found it. But LA Dodgers.
I cannot find except for this way that I could have found it.
I could have found it. None of the articles that mentioned it said who the batter was.
Okay,
just that it was Johnny Bench. And, perhaps, if I had more journalistic integrity, I would have dug deeper and found it. But I don't have journalistic integrity. I am a Phillies fan. And Edmundo Sosa hit Narvaez's glove, and the Phillies won. And baseball's weird, and baseball's dumb, and baseball is the absolute best. And it was the red ballyhoo lights going everywhere. Edmundo Sosa getting water dumped on him. Truly an absurdly stupid moment. And,
got it.
I'm sure. Oh, who was it?
It was Willie Crawford. Willie Crawford was up. It was 11th inning, 4-4 tie. Dodgers had the bases loaded. Manny Mota tried stealing home. So Johnny Bench jumped out from beyond the plate and stood on the base path to tag him before the ball had been thrown, which meant that he had committed catcher's interference by getting up and staying on the plate mid-at-bat, mid-pitch before the pitch happened.
Well, I'm sure Johnny Bench took that entirely well and, didn't really put up much of an argument.
I like that one better than the other one because, my hot take is catcher's interference on a check swing should just be a redo because nothing was changed.
In a neutral setting, I would agree with you, Xavier, but in a setting where the Phillies get to win, I love the call.
Of course,
it's a great
we're going to go that way. But I was just thinking about, what does it actually affect? Technically nothing.
Technically, but I guess it's one of those where it's a slippery slope because then it's like, oh, did he check his swing? Obviously, in this case, Edmundo Sosa very clearly checked his swing. But then it's like, did he check his swing? Would he have checked his swing if he didn't feel the glove? I'm all for giving umpires less judgment calls. Just make it black and white. Bat hit, glove. That sucks for a catcher. That's what I endorse. Don't let the umpires think. Make umpires autonomous again.
Well,
I just wanted to look
119th
for-
minute, England got a penalty, saved, scored on the rebound, take the lead. 120th minute, 2-1 over Italy.
While we're talking about rule changes, that's one I firmly believe. During a live game penalty, if it's saved, it just automatically becomes a corner. Like, it's so hard to save a penalty. The idea that you could do it and then still, like,
and
you
then
know,
be
from
ready for an immediate rebound.
right, from the shooter's perspective, it's like task failed successfully. No, task failed. You still get a corner. That's like a good consolation, but come on. But, you know, go English women.
Well, both of you have been talking about a lot of sports you're very knowledgeable about, and so I want to take a moment to take us away from that realm into cycling. Tour de France is going on. It will have actually finished by the time this episode comes out. It seems pretty clear who's going to win, barring some kind of terrible accident, but that's exactly what would happen if I said who I think is going to win. So suffice to say, the Tour de France is concluded, and a very talented biker has won one way or the other. It's been a very fast tour. On July 13th, stage 9, it was the second fastest mass start ever in Tour de France history, 50.013 kilometers per hour over the entire course, second only to one in 1999 when they had a 50.4 speed. Since the 90s, when admittedly there was some other things going on, but since the 90s when we got our first ever 40 plus kilometer per hour speed over the full course, that has just completely become the expected standard at this point. Since 2017, they've only failed as a peloton to clear a 40 kilometer per hour average once in 2020. And all of the last four have been 41 or more average over the full course, including the fastest ever total speed, Jonas Vingegaard, when he won in 2022 over Tadej in like the most complete destruction of Pogačar in any race ever. He averaged 42.031 kilometers per hour. This year, we can say right now, after stage 16, that Tadej Pogačar is currently going at 43.7 kilometers per hour average over the full course. It is going to slow down a little bit. They're about to get to the Alps, but it's incredibly fast, and that has just been a trend over all these years. And Patrick Fletcher of Cycling News did a really good job of compiling a lot of the reasons that I kind of want to address right now. And the way that I want to address this is, I mentioned, you guys do not know that much about cycling, but you are smart sports people. And I am curious what reasons you would think if someone was saying this has been happening over the few years. What would you look to as kind of like the explanations? And I just want to address like a bunch of different points. There are many factors leading into it. And this is just kind of how I want to think about the Tour de France getting faster with the two of you. And our listeners.
They found new performance-enhancing drugs that can't be detected yet. They are injecting themselves with monkey semen.
So can we put the elephant of doping aside till the end? We can talk about that when we talk about many other factors that are documented. And
insane carbon fiber suits that decrease drag, like what they did in 2008 in the Olympics, where they broke every swimming record and had to ban them immediately.
So, sort of. There is a difference in the attitude towards the kits that guys are wearing. There have been full body bibs. I don't know if you guys have ever seen someone who's super hardcore about cycling having one of kind of like the overalls spandex bibs on, perhaps still under a jersey, but those are a lot more effective at reducing drag because they can cling a lot tighter to you as the full body. And it's not that the technology for that's gotten better, like that people figured those out and they're good. More people are just kind of getting over this weird sense of embarrassment almost that there was of it for a while. Like more people are just wearing the full body kits now. And that has contributed to it. Yes.
What do you think, Diaz?
So my theory was, something with the tires, like they're being made with a new material or in a different way that allows them to go faster without accumulating as much wear and tear.
So, sort of, along the similar lines of what we said to Xavier with the suits, like, it is not that the tech has changed, it's that the preferred meta with the tech sort of has changed. They, once upon a time would only exclusively ride pretty much 23 millimeters. I, as like a hobby amateurist cyclist, ride about 25 as like relatively beefy ones for road biking. It is now like an expected 28 to 30 in the men's peloton largely. And they have done this because they've largely gotten away from like climbing bikes, they're almost exclusively going with these aero bikes for climbing all the time. Like, people have just decided the amount of drag you can lose off that. People are chasing so hard up these mountains. It is worth just always having the aerodynamic bike over that. And so the kinds of tires you would put on that don't need as much pressure. It's a little bit like less total weight on the bike. And as such, yeah, it's still bringing down your speed that way. All of that, like, those are a lot of the main tech things that people have looked at, both the stuff they're wearing and the bike. So you both are right to kind of address that. Is there anything else you can think of?
Beefier boys.
I love the cycling updates from you, James. Someone who is, not only passionate about cycling, but it's something that you do regularly, and such a blind spot for me as someone who can't even ride a bike. But like, all this stuff is just insane to me. And like, hearing you explain it, I kind of get it, but it still sounds pretty insane.
Well, I appreciate the genuflection and the acknowledgement that this is all like very niche stuff. I also want to acknowledge Diaz is correct with beefier boys. There has been a different approach to training, whereas it used to be like everyone was incredibly wiry because they were training to fatigue. Like, that was the idea of how to do it. Diaz, you might have a good idea that like that's been a transition with runners thinking you don't just train to fatigue. You do think about your power outputs at different points. And that's kind of been the approach now. People want to just be able to first figure out, how do we maximize our power output? And then how do we do that for a long time? And what that does result in is beefier boys.
You need the beefy boys. We see it in football with Derrick Henry. We see it in cycling. Beefy boys. They're all the rage.
And then, of course, like, there's the two beefy boys at the front who aren't actually that beefy, but Poggi and Vingegaard. The thing that I wanted to, like, say that I think is the ultimate reason. Like, I'll say there are other factors. There's a much different approach to food now. People used to carbo load, like, 60 grams a mile or so in the 2010s as a kind of like your refueling. People are regularly ingesting like 120 to 130, partially because they've gotten better at carbo loading in the gels, and also just because there's been an approach like, hey, you got to train your gut to just take in that much. And because of that, people are all going faster, and the Peloton has this feedback loop where if it's going faster, the drag on it's reducing, and so then it's also going faster, and that just keeps cycling. There's the fact that, like, every once in a while, the route makes a difference. The fastest year ever in 2022, when Vingegaard set that, it did have, like, the lowest elevation total of the last 4 years. So that's also notable. But to address both doping and what I think is the real reason, like, yes, since 1999, there have been 9 titles vacated due to doping. Like, that is the big thing that you got to acknowledge cycling. 7 of those are Lance Armstrong, but there's also 2 other guys who lost their titles due to that. And for a long time, that meant that the doping, like, testing and everything ramped up following the 2012 decision to drop all of Armstrong's titles. And it was really kind of, you were able to feel a little bit more certain that people were not doing anything. And then 2020 came, and that affected testing standards, and they dropped for drugs because they were testing for so many other things. And so since then, like, there have been fewer doping convictions, and people would say, well, there's fewer doping testing, so doping convictions are naturally going to go down. It's not a thing that people won't be able to say about cycling forever, same as with baseball. Like, forever you could just say, oh, well, I think they're probably doing steroids. That's possible. But I think really what it is, and I think what, honestly, today's stage more than anything showed, is that at the center of it all, the 2 guys that are dominating the race, Poggi and Vingegaard, have won every single title since 2020. It's 3-2 in favor of Poggi. They are, one, so much better than everyone else. Like, that is, rude to the rest of the Peloton, but it is true. But even then, like, 4th place and 3rd place, you go to 2022, and Geraint Thomas, who had won the Tour de France at one point, did a speed in 4th place 2 kilometers per hour faster than his 2018 win. Like, the reason that the Peloton is going faster is because people are chasing these 2 guys, and this is what I'm trying to do to address the hypocrisy of my love for Tadej Pogačar and my well-known documented hatred of dynasties. This is different because he is still someone that attacks the race every day and forces every other racer to attack every day, and it has just driven so much good cycling over the last couple years. Unlike Patrick Mahomes, for instance, who just becomes this boring fucking checkdown artist, and so all of the wins are just the least watchable slop you've ever seen in the NFL. Like, if you are going to make it so no one else wins anything ever, which admittedly is kind of what Tadej Pogačar does, at least make it look fucking cool as shit, which he does. And thank you all for talking about the fast Tour de France with me for a second. That is all that we have for Making Memories today, folks. But we have something else for you. Coming up, a guest segment from one of the sports world's foremost Rhodes Scholars, Rodger Sherman. And that next part is what we're going to get to now. Hope you enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, it is at this time the sincere pleasure of Remember That Guy to bring on yet another member of the SB Nation diaspora onto our show, formerly of Grantland, The Ringer, now one of the online sports world's foremost Rhodes Scholars, we'll say, with the newsletter Read Raj. Welcome to the show, Rodger Sherman.
Hey, thanks for having me. I think I'm going to stick with Rhodes. I should have come up with that.
Rhodes. Hey, you can have that. That's free.
So you have to spell it ROAD, like road, because I drove a car around the country. This is an audio podcast, so I want people to.
Yes, okay.
I normally write things.
We will explain our homophone. Yes, Rhodes Scholar, because you did indeed travel all over the country. You've got a very wide taste. If you don't mind, though, there's one thing I'd like to hone on in to begin with. We kind of connected because you and Xavier were part of the Knicks Faithful recently that were celebrating an incredibly exciteful playoff run, remembering some guys related to that. Now, you've said in your newsletter that at the time, when things went the way they did with the Knicks, you weren't ready to talk about them yet. Are you ready to discuss these New York Knickerbockers now?
Wow. Group therapy.
Well, so, I do consider myself a Knicks ally. I will acknowledge I'm not a Knicks fan, but I do certainly consider myself, between the two of you as people that I follow and invest in, between LJ with ARPA Make It Sports, and also, my favorite team is the Orioles. I'm very familiar with my favorite players' high points in their careers being, at best, failing in the playoffs, because that's the only time they make the playoffs. And
I'm ready. I think I'm ready to talk about it. This was one of the greatest Knicks runs, of my life. The last time they made the finals, I was 9 years old. The last time they made the Eastern Conference Finals, I was 9 years old. So this is the farthest they had been since, every adult thing in my life has happened. And since I was supposed to have adult emotions, I did not. I did not have adult emotions while watching the Knicks play. I had very, very childish emotions and yelled a lot of things. I think there was some part of me that was mentally broken by the Indiana Pacers. The entire time it was happening, I was like, we can't lose to this team. I think they're worse than us. I think the Knicks are a better team. I think their comebacks were just totally not deserved and not valid, and I was so mad about them. And then they made it to Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I think they're actually a good team, but they were one game away from winning the NBA championship. They're objectively a good team, but I really had a near breakdown about the fact that the Knicks lost to a team that kept winning in such improbable fashion. And then immediately after, the Knicks fired the coach who had more success than ever, with more success than in decades. And then I was sort of torn between trying to pretend that it felt rational and reasonable and that he was the upper ceiling on our success, and the fact that they clearly did not have a plan for afterwards and immediately got rejected by the next 5 or 6 coaches they tried to bring in. I was trying to pretend that this was all smart and good, while every indicator was telling me that they were making it up as they went along. But we settled on Mike Brown today, so when you're listening to this in the future, if any other Knick developments have happened, know that I pretended that it would work out the whole time.
If Mike Brown isn't the coach of the Knicks the day you hear this, something has gone horribly wrong.
There's always the possibility for disaster.
I left that if open. I feel like it's not a massive if, but it's there.
It's generally very strange, and I hope you get to experience this with the Orioles one day, when you've spent your whole life assuming that every choice the team will make is bad, and then good things happen and they build, and year after year they get better and better, and like it happens. I wasn't sure what to do, and now I'm torn between like doubting them, like I have for the last 20 years, just like reflexively being like, oh, every decision they make is going to be bad, and like just like my desire to believe, since they've come so far recently and made so many smart calls. It's weird. It's an emotional roller coaster anytime the word Knicks enters my brain space. Like I just like you said you want to talk about the Knicks, and like just like thunderclaps started going off in like my cerebral cortex, and like there's all sorts of bad and good things happening up there right now. I'm happy and mad, and it's fun. Sports is good.
Sports is good. And that, if I were to like try and put any one thesis statement on everything you do, seems to be it, that sports generally are good. And I want to kind of work back to like what you are regularly doing now, because you're a fan of the Knicks and the Jets, much like Xavier here. And both of those teams, even if they're not good, they are very important. They're teams that exist at the center of general sports discussion. They are notable and well known to a lot of people. And that is kind of in contrast to what I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, but what I think you try to do with Reed Raj and with a lot of your online presence now is bringing up those more peripheral and obscure realms of sport and bringing those more into the consciousness. You start with these teams that, even when they're not good, again, are in the biggest market in the world, grab all this attention, and you've moved towards the periphery. Can you think of like an inciting sporting event or a team or something that started this migration for you? Or is this just something that has kind of like come naturally?
Yeah, that's when you put it that way, pretty dumb choice.
I wouldn't say no. This is all parentheses complimentary. Like, you talk about the kind of stuff that I get excited to learn exists. It is fun to know that. It's just interesting to see you move from the center towards the outside. And I am just curious if you can think of anything that kind of initiated that velocity.
That's a great question. I mean, I would say, like, I've just always been drawn to like seeking things out and spending an hour on Wikipedia reading pages that I've never thought about before. And like, I don't know, I would say like I've always the thing that probably most like defines like how I ended up caring about so many things is like just watching the Olympics and just putting on like whatever sport was on at a given time and whatever countries were playing, and just, what is this? Who are these people? How does this work? Why are they here? How do people watch this sport in the place that they're from? Are there leagues for like, I don't know. I just like, I see something and I'm curious about how and why it exists. I would say, as it relates to New York and the Knicks, I mean, part of it is like there's sort of a deep embarrassment that happens when the entire world knows about your team's innermost workings and failings and how bad they are. And like, I can feel the frustration from people with having to hear so much about New York area teams, and that it's not the thing they want to hear. It's like why should I care about this team just because it's in a big city? And I mean, yeah, that checks out. Like, like it's not inherently interesting just because of where they're from. And like, I mean, the whole world making fun of my Jets and Knicks and knowing all of their downsides and their worst coaches and and their famous like errors, and the butt fumble has its own Wikipedia page, and so it's partially a little escapism. It does help, like the way one thing I like to for most, I graduated college in 2012 and started writing about sports professionally in 2013. And like for a solid 12 years there, none of my teams were good at anything. Like it did not interfere with my ability to write about sports at all. Because like I write about the NFL and I would write about the NFL, and like the Jets just were not an important topic to cover. They're not on Sunday Night Football. They're not on in the playoffs. Entirely free of having to cover that team. Like as part of my job assignment, did not ever have to like watch like the AFC Championship game, half trying to write about it and half like yelling at every play call because I think it's dumb. And for all that time, the Knicks were generally not good. And this year, this May, I really discovered what it's like to have those two things. I rediscovered what it is like to watch high stakes games with your team in it, and I'm not sure I could have been on the clock for that.
Going back a little bit to like this love that you have of diving in when you find out about a sport, to finding the leagues, what are the rules, what's the scoring, what's like the general vibe of this. I'm gonna preface again by saying that this is all complimentary. I love that so much of your writing the newsletter is not just let's talk about this exciting thing. It has a lot of build up along the lines first of here's why you should be excited about this thing in the first place. Here's why this, like, you have to kind of engender that buy-in to the things that you're telling people about. And you like do a very good job of explaining, I think, generally this, going all the way back to like the Professor Rodger videos on the Ringer. But I mean, do you ever get tired of explanation being this big a portion of the stuff that you write about? Do you wish sometimes that you got to kind of exist in one realm for a little bit longer with people that had that shared background info, that shared like lexicon? Or is there like, is it completely the opposite wherein the explanation is half the fun of the thing and you are like excited to share this with people who don't know about it versus people that already do?
I definitely take joy in the explanation. And it's often like I'm telling you my discovery process. Like I asked these questions, found these answers, and I thought you would want to go down the exact same path. Like, because it's often an event that I didn't follow either, or that I had to research too. And although like the end result, like it might sound like you made it sound as if I am exposed from like this deep base of knowledge, where in fact it's more like these are the things I found out along the way. I didn't know that much about this either, and I'm not trying to sound I'm actually not authoritative on this, and
Sure.
like it's I guess if I enjoyed finding these things out, I figured someone else might too. And just a lot of the time, it's like that context hasn't all been put in one place or hasn't all explained. And so often when it's a sport that's out of the public eye, or I'll just be watching it or learning about it, I'm like, how is this real? How are all these things happening? Why does this exist? So if I'm thinking that, I figure someone else might be as well.
So I think you phrase it better than I did in that I made it sound as though you're doing these deep dives where it's more like, hey, come watch me splash in the kiddie pool and come also splash in the kiddie pool if this like shallow understanding of this new thing seems interesting to you, because I thought you would enjoy it. Is that like a better way of kind of...
And it's also like what we actually like about sports does have context. And it feels like the worst sports stuff is hoping that you'll enjoy something just because it's there. Like we put the Cowboys on TV because they're the Cowboys. We put the team from New York on TV, even though they suck, because we figure you'll eat that up. You'll eat that slop up. And I mean, obviously it works to a certain extent, but like what we come to sports for are stories and people. in addition to seeing like really impressive athletic feats. But you can't really appreciate those feats without like understanding why they're interesting and who the people are and how the sport works. And a lot of times, I think a lot of journalists and writers would like to be able to do as much explaining as I do, but often you aren't given the time or the space because like there is an assumption that the people following know like a lot of the stuff you're doing. So I really savor that, and I do like to get into it. I appreciate that you said that complimentary because like I don't know, I do wonder sometimes like am I taking too long to set this thing up? Like, but I don't know. I think it's just like the joy of like laying out why this is interesting always hits for me.
Fully agree. And yeah, like largely enjoy anytime you take us on one of those little rabbit hole rides. I am curious because you're saying that you're kind of when you're writing these almost live streaming your own discovery process. Does it happen often that you like halfway through look into something or just like, oh, actually, I don't think there's that much meat on this bone and we're not going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I will often just like trash something that I've put a lot of work into. I need to find an editor to help me with that because I'm like, actually, this isn't as interesting as I thought. And you know, if it's not interesting, I figure people aren't going to be interested in it. So,
well, speaking of the interest of people, and speaking of some of these obscure events that you have either covered in person or written about later on, if the two of you don't mind, I'd like to try play a little game, Xavier and Rodger. You have been in the position to be at some events with massive turnout and with less turnout. There's another event with less turnout that recently we all enjoyed specifically because of that low turnout, and that was the President's Stupid Little Birthday Parade. Now, they have not released official attendance sizes for this, but on r/they did the math, user Simpossible did a population density like breakdown of what he expected the crowd size to be, and we came in with roughly 30,000 people. If the two of you are game for this, I've got a game called Trump the Crowd Size, where I'm going to share some events that I've pulled from Read Raj articles and have some associated attendance figures with them. I want to know whether or not those attendance figures trump the crowd size of that parade.
A massive disadvantage here because I wasn't there and I didn't write about it, but I'm game to play this.
I think this will be fair. No, you were not at all of these, but you were.
I have not been to most of them.
You were at one that I'd like to start with. This year you pet 132 dogs at the Westminster Dog Show. Now, unfortunately, the 2025 Westminster Dog Show will not release attendance numbers, although they were in Madison Square Garden for the first time in a while. However, you can find the attendance figures for the 1937 Westminster Dog Show, which is the record for most attendance. Did the 1937 Westminster Dog Show trump the crowd size?
That's so funny that like in 1937 they had higher numbers because like if you go to the one at MSG, like they show the dogs on the jumbotron, you know.
They'll tell you how many dogs there were. There were 2,500 dogs. They'll give you the number of dogs, no problem. I just couldn't find the number of humans anywhere.
But like in 1937, they did have a jumbotron. There were people up in the upper decks looking at dogs like 500 feet. It's like,
yeah. The radio call of the dog show a lot more important then.
There was just a guy like, this dog's a real dandy. I'm going to say higher because I don't know if they fill MSG for it, but like they get over, in there probably. And if 1937 was higher, I'm guessing that it would be over 30,000. But I don't know what venue it was at. I don't know if it was at like.
It was. I will tell you, it was at MSG. It was at MSG in 1937. Same venue.
I don't know how big 1937 Madison Square Garden was, but I'm gonna say the dog show was more.
What do you think, X?
So the way I'm thinking about this was I was thinking about baseball attendance in New York in the 30s and how absolutely massive those crowds were in places that really should not have fit that many people. So
Yeah.
because I don't think MSG's attendance would have the recommended attendance would have been 30,000, but I think they would have crammed that many people in there to watch the dogs anyway. So I am also going to say over, but it was an unsafe over where they really should not have had that many people.
They put 55,000 individuals in Madison Square Garden for the 1937 Westminster Dog Show.
There's no way that was recommended capacity.
55,000. So a dog show in 1937.
Many people want to see dogs. Like, I mean, I love the dogs, but like,
it's the Great Depression. Like, I don't know. I think that's just the best entertainment that you've got in New York City in 1937.
There was just so little going on. There's one of my favorite John Mulaney bits is how, like, back in the 20s, there was so little to do that people would just go watch, like, wave at ships coming in or leaving the harbor. Like, there's a big ship coming in today. Do you know anybody on the ship? Nope. Just going to wave at it. And, like, yeah.
Just want to be part of something.
55K for the dog show, man. I hope they brought binoculars.
The little opera glasses. You both get a point for that. We have another question here about the 2024 T20 World Cup, which saw a stunning cricket game that you wrote up, in which the United States upset Pakistan. Did the crowd on hand for that historic underdog win trump the crowd size of the parade?
I'll let Xavier go first.
Think so. I don't think it did. I was watching that game. I don't remember the crowd being very large for that. Because was that one of the ones that was in Texas? Because I don't think that was the one in Long Island. I think that was the one in Texas.
Those are the two largest venues. Yes, I will not give any hint behind the fact, that those two are the largest.
I don't think people in Texas went to this. I think the Long Island one actually did have good attendance, but I don't think the Texas one did.
The stadium in Long Island was about 20K. It sold out for like the India games, but it was definitely not a full house in Texas. It was in the middle of the day in like June or July. I think I would guess the attendance for it was like 6,000 or 7,000.
So Xavier, you were correct that the U.S.-India ones in Long Island were very good. In fact, they did better than 20,000. They had about 31,722 for the U.S.-India game.
No way.
That was the most attended game of the whole thing. So that was U.S.-India. I have to acknowledge, U.S.-Pakistan, it was at Grand Prairie in Texas. They had about 22,000 people. It was at a slightly smaller venue, so it does not trump the crowd size. You are both correct.
No way. I was way off. I remember watching it and did not think those stands were full. They are. But the USA-India game was definitely packed. The tickets were going for hundreds of dollars. And they also did India-Pakistan in Long Island, and that was a huge ticket. But yeah, I'm gonna have to look at the tape on that 22K.
I admit, I'm reporting off the internet. I will tell you no matter what, it is fewer than 30,000, but you're correct on that. Another tie. We move on to February of this year when you wrote about a heartbreaker in the World Baseball Classic qualifiers between Spain and Taiwan, in which Spain lost an agonizing 6-3 game against Taiwan to miss the 2026 World Baseball Classic. This was the home country. Did the Taiwanese faithful in attendance to see Spain choke that away trump the crowd size of the parade?
I'm going to say yes. I think it was in Taipei and it was a sellout. And I think that stadium is going to be over 30K. It's like the national team in their number one sport. And it's a pretty well-populated country. I'm going with yeah.
So I will preface this by saying I also think it's over, but that's not fun when we've guessed the same way twice in a row. So I'm going to guess under to make this a little different.
I mean, you should strive for accuracy. I don't know. I fundamentally disagree.
The podcast format is all about content, whether it's accurate or not.
Okay.
I will never besmirch the sanctity of Trump the crowd size with these cheap games that you're playing.
I give him a reason for saying under. Okay, I'm going to say under because I think the Taiwanese crowd assumed that they were going to beat Spain because Spain doesn't play baseball, so they didn't show up.
Well, Unfortunately, Xavier, you have shot yourself in the foot, whether intentionally or unintentionally. The Taiwanese absolutely showed up. It was a sellout of 35,768 Taiwanese fans on hand.
Talking about selling out, Xavier sold out his integrity so that the listeners would have a better experience.
I'll take it.
The show that has brought us such delightful categories is 69 or 420 and Trump the crowd size. And here you are just throwing that into the wood chipper.
You know what? It is what it is. I want there to be a winner. I always want there to be a winner. I don't like it if just a tie. Somebody wins and loses.
Well, we got two more until we find out if someone wins and loses. Real quick, in a recent edition of Read Raj, you highlighted the EuroLeague Final Four as a fertile ground for remembering guys. And just to really hone that in, I'm not going to even list the guys you did. I'm going to bring up some other ones we get to remember, like Evan Fournier, like Daniel Tice, like C.D. Osman, like Kendrick Nunn, like Kem Birch. There are so many guys in the EuroLeague Final Four across the 4 games of the Final Four, including the third place championship. Did the EuroLeague fans trump the crowd size?
Absolutely. Well, hold on. The thing was absolutely, but I remember that it was played in Abu Dhabi.
Mm-hmm.
Teams from Greece and Turkey and maybe France.
And I'll let you know, it's not an enormous arena. 4 games, though.
I'm going to say over. Like, because we only need like 7,000-8,000 per game. And I don't know. I guess they they paid for those teams to go there. Someone would go to. I don't understand it if Abu Dhabi's a real place.
Is this paid attendance or announced attendance?
This is announced attendance.
Okay. With that, I'm going to go under because I'm just thinking about Abu Dhabi, a place that doesn't play basketball. What size arena would they have? Maybe 10K. How much of that would they have sold to like luxury boxes and corporate sponsors who didn't show up, or overprice it just like Gianni Infantino in the Club World Cup, where we had 54% attendance or capacity through the group stages just because prices are insane? So I'm going to go under because I think they massively overcharged for a small arena because it's in Abu Dhabi.
By the way, the Knicks jersey sponsor, Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
And also Abu Dhabi?
The new Disneyland is going to be in Abu Dhabi as well.
It says Experience Abu Dhabi on the Knicks jersey.
A tourism board having the amount of money to get on a sports jersey they've had Fly Emirates forever.
It could be worse. I'm an Arsenal fan where we have Emirates for the front and we have Visit Rwanda on the shirt sleeve.
What's really wild is that like the previous Knicks jersey patch sponsor was Sphere, the James Dolan owned.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, it was Squarespace.
But like, he was like, they had to pay him enough money to knock his own company off of there. Like,
yeah. And also to keep him from maintaining that shape trend of Squarespace and Sphere.
Yeah.
Xavier, this time you didn't get a point with honor, at least. You were really close on one particular thing, which is that the capacity is nearly exactly 10,000. They average 10,218 fans a game for 40,872 overall, remembering some guys while watching Fenerbahce, I believe is the pronunciation of the Turkish club, win yet again. And that brings us with a score of 4-2 to a final question. This one, Rodger, hopefully a little close to your heart. This is a Northwestern question for you. They have been playing their football games this last year at Martin Stadium. I believe they're doing it for one more season while they do some renovations to their primary football stadium. Was a Northwestern home game at Martin Stadium able to, at any point so far, trump the crowd size of the parade?
No, I think it's 15,000 capacity, something like that. It's so they turned the Lakeside lacrosse and soccer stadium into a football stadium,
bleachers
with some really, you can see all of the supports visibly, into a temporary football stadium while they're spending, I think, $800 million of Pat Ryan's money to build a new stadium. You know, normally I do a big thing about like how much stadiums cost and how sad it is that like we have to publicly finance it. But if a billionaire just wants to spend it all on one stadium, you know, Good for him. But I think the stadium is under 30K.
Okay. Also, before I forget, all those bleachers immediately make me think every time I see them of wooden roller coasters. Like it's the exact same level of safety and the exact amount of noise from every motion on it. Xavier, your response for any home games at Martin Stadium?
I mean, that was very comprehensive from someone who should know. So instead of giving, a reason why I'm picking something else, I'm going to piggyback off that public financing of stadiums thing because something came out yesterday that is extremely fascinating and very helpful for me to explain my job to people who never know what I do. For those who do not know, I'm an unclaimed property lawyer. The state of Ohio put out their annual budget for the year. As part of their annual budget, they have decided to change their state unclaimed property program, and they have decided that they are going to become a permanent escheat state where, for most states, properties reported to the state holds onto it for their citizens to claim in perpetuity. Ohio is now going to say, after 10 years, we get to keep it. It's all ours now. And they are doing that because they are transferring $1 billion from their state's unclaimed property fund to build the Cleveland Browns Dome Stadium.
Art Modell did nothing wrong.
I mean, Ohio gets nothing now. I'm mad at Ohio for doing this. It's kind of wild. I mean, they're going to get sued. Their attorney general already said he's suing the governor over it, so, it's not great.
Well, to lighten things up a little bit on that, speaking of the state of Ohio, there was exactly one home game this year that the Northwestern football team participated in that did exceed that number with 38,147 people against the Ohio State, but that was at Wrigley.
That was at Wrigley.
I did specify Martin Stadium. Martin Stadium had a maximum attendance this year of 12,023, so they did not trump. Rodger, you have swept Trump the crowd size. Congratulations. You won a category partially based on your writing.
Yeah, I had a slight advantage. My real passion is crowd sizes and TV ratings. I don't actually care about the sports or the people. If we could just be like numbers of people that witnessed something, that'd be great.
Speaking of witnessing, we are here to bear witness to your prize, which is a chance to present a guy for induction into the hall. Who is the guy or guys that we should consider for induction today?
I decided I wanted to talk Knicks, and I believe in remembering their guys. And I'd like to nominate Renaldo Balkman, who was a Knick during my, probably some of my formative Knicks years when they were extremely bad. And I found out today is still playing basketball somewhere in the world. He has one of these
He's playing in Puerto Rico.
Entries. I know that he has played A, for the Puerto Rican national team, and B, in the Puerto Rican league, which is, by the way, a huge deal. People in Puerto Rico go nuts for that basketball league. But he has one of these endless Wikipedia teams that he has played for entries. And would you like to remember this guy with me? I don't what happens if someone remembers a guy that you guys don't remember that much?
No, we're into this. So I have the most passing knowledge of him just by coming into the league. I was becoming a Spurs fan as he was on his way out. That's how I kind of came to the NBA a little late towards the end of high school. But holy smokes, you're not kidding about the other teams that he has played on since leave. So he left the NBA in 2012. And I can see you're counting now. How many has he played for in the subsequent 13 years since leaving the NBA?
I'm getting 15 total teams.
Okay, yeah.
Which does not include that. But it's also tough. It looks like he's played for some teams twice. A notable important Wikipedia thing is that he was banned from the Filipino League after getting into a massive fight during one of their games in 2013. And then he was unbanned from the Filipino League in 2018. I don't know what sort of systems they have for making these choices. And you're right, you're correct. He plays for the Vaqueros de Bayamon in the Puerto Rican League now. But yeah, it keeps going and going and going. A lot of countries, most of them in Latin America. But yeah, you really love to see a 40-year-old still balling, still continuing to play in random places across the world. Great college career in that it's very random that he won the NIT championship twice. Very rare thing to do. Was named the MVP of the NIT in 2006, despite the fact that he did not score in 2 of the 4 games of the NIT, which has to be the only time they've ever given MVP to a guy who did not score in some of the games.
This stat line for winning the 2006 NIT MVP, 9.6 points, 6.3 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 1.7 steals, 1.3 blocks, so 3 stocks altogether. Like,
he hustled, man. He just hustled. He the nonstop energy, a lot of alley-oop dunk finishes. I don't think ever took a jump shot in his entire life. Maybe at some point in the last 15 years of playing overseas, he has. And, it's something to remember for sure.
I am, there's 2 things on his Wikipedia page in particular that I love as I glance through here. One is, when he first said it, there was a split second where I forgot that Renaldo Balkman existed and thought that you said Rolando Blackman. Well, I was totally game for. Apparently, that is a joke that Bill Simmons already made about Isaiah Thomas when he initially drafted him, so I am not original in that thinking. And just going back to the Philippines for a second, I want people to know that there is a legitimately 200, maybe 300 word explanation of the fight incident that led to his expulsion from the Philippine League. And it really feels like one of those times where an actor's best friend gets on Wikipedia and just decides to really flesh out the early life to an unnecessary degree. This is roughly as well documented as some portions of the Malice in the Palace Wikipedia page are. This fight is getting a really outsized amount of attention, which I appreciate from whatever Filipino hoophead was adding that in there.
Yeah, this is a book. Every player, assistant coach, and referee that was involved in this fight. And then we have a quote from Renaldo Balkman's Twitter account at the time. Just, important journalism. But you're correct. At the very top of Renaldo Balkman's Wikipedia page, it says not to be confused with Rolando Blackman. So, objectively, 2 of the most similar names that 2 humans could have.
So I want to talk about Renaldo Balkman real quick, just because this is when I was really getting into the Knicks at this point. So one of my earliest memories was the previous year draft, the 2005 draft, where the Knicks came away with Channing Frye, David Lee, and Nate Robinson.
Incredible draft.
It is a great draft. It's a great vibes draft. Whether or not, other than that David Lee All-Star game that we all know and love, that was a vibes draft, and the vibes around the Knicks were not good for the most part. But those guys and Ronaldo had some great vibes, at least until, mid 2006 when there was the massive fight with the Nuggets and everyone got suspended.
To contextualize this, and you're correct. So Isaiah Thomas was the first of all bad person. Just bad person.
Objectively not a good dude.
Bad person, bad general manager, bad coach. Really just incredible. Bad CEO. He ran several businesses into the ground. Bad commissioner for, I believe it was the CBA. I could go on for a while. The CBA folded while he was their commissioner. Anyway, so he's the general manager of the Knicks for a long time. Garbage. In 2005, though, he made these 3 good draft picks. Like you said, Channing Frye, who at the time looked like he could be I remember feeling like he could be the Rookie of the Year that year. Nate Robinson, dunk contest winner. And then the last of the 3 picks was David Lee, who went on to be the Knicks' first All-Star in 15 years.
I looked up a little about David Lee coming into this. He's a Spurs legend, also. Respect his attempt at a ring chase with the Spurs. He has the second most win shares of any Knick in the 21st century after Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah. Win shares were, I believe he was a darling of the guy who invented win shares because he just got so many rebounds. And so we're feeling like things are falling apart, but also this guy's good at drafting. He's making these great draft picks. Isaiah Thomas then installs himself as the head coach. after, failing for years as the general manager, was somehow given like the leeway to be like, not only am I not getting fired, I'm giving myself a promotion to be
Hey, it
both
worked
the
for
GM
Greg
and head
Popovich.
coach. Yeah, it really did. I put those two guys together all the time, like
Yeah.
the same legacy. And so we're like, this guy knows how to draft. We've got these 2 draft picks, and he basically selects Renaldo Balkman, who does not know how to score and was like the 50th best prospect in the draft. People were not expecting him to even be like selected at all. And we're like, isn't this the thing he was supposed to be good at doing, was like finding like a guy? So we're like, in my head, I'm like, it's going to work out. He went off the board. He found this guy no one was expecting, but he saw something in him, and he's going to develop, and he's going to be great. And really, I just bought in fully to the idea that these young players would turn into the next Knicks era. And, not so much. I believe he was included in the Carmelo Anthony trade, which is like a...
Yeah, seeing him like come over from Denver for that second stint with the Knicks, I'm going through the basketball reference page here. Anyone that gets to be kind of a throw-in a trade with any like star player who is going to be the title of that draft or of that trade forever, and then you just have to like look further down the page to find out who else was even involved. Enormous guy credential. Also, because I think I'll forget otherwise, but we do have to shout out on this podcast as 3 Temple guys. Marty Collins apparently drafted the same year as him. I did not know that we had a Temple outlaw at the time. Again, I was trying to like pick an obscure team that wasn't on the East Coast because I was too cool for that stuff. So frankly, if I'd been paying more attention to the Knicks, might have been kind of into this during high school. Bullet dodged? ?
I never believed in Marty Collins. Let the record show that I always thought he was going to be bad, and he was. But Ronaldo, I bought into.
2 little bits of trivia. So, as far as I can tell, there are only 2 first-round picks from the 2006 NBA draft that are still playing professional basketball anywhere in the world.
Hold on. This is great. No, I couldn't tell you. This draft was like Bargnani, Tyrus Thomas, right? Is that the right draft?
It's the right draft.
Can you give me is it going to be too much of a hint if you give the team that drafted them?
No, I can tell you. The Memphis Grizzlies drafted them.
And professional anywhere. Professional, not in the NBA.
Yes. So I said that because Ronaldo is professional in Puerto Rico. This other guy, their only other one, is still professional in the NBA.
Oh, man.
Hit me with it. Hit me with it.
Kyle Lowry is the last one.
Another Philly legend.
So really, you could say if you just consider longevity to be the most important factor, like
and Isaiah Thomas was right. He picked the guy who had the longevity to be a professional basketball player long after Isaiah Thomas was gone.
How confident are you in that analysis? Like, did you go through all 60 of these picks to make
I just
sure
did
that
the first ones. I went through all 30 of them. Yes,
that's and impressive. Like, not to peek behind the curtain, but I didn't give you guys a heads up of who I was going to pick, and you already went through all 30.
Yeah,
I'm impressed. Sergio Rodriguez just stopped playing.
Last year, Real Madrid retired last year. That was the other most recent. But I have one other bit of trivia for you because I looked at the current roster for Vaqueros de Bayamon. And there are some good ex-NBA players on here. But specifically, there is one other pretty important Knick of a time that is on this roster who was a very highly drafted Knick in the late 2000s, early 2010s era. I cannot remember the exact draft offhand, but can either of you guess what other Knick happens to be on Vaqueros de Bayamon and is apparently their best player?
Dude, the guy remembering never stops. Tell me.
Danilo Gallinari is the leading scorer of
No,
Vaqueros
Gallinari's
de
a Brit-
Bayamon.
That's surprising that he's in
Gallinari's
Puerto Rico.
playing
I would have thought some European club is like, yeah, sure, give me Gallinari. Maybe the passion's just there.
Yeah, he's currently averaging 19 points and 6 rebounds for Vaqueros de Bayamon. He is one of the star players alongside JaVale McGee and Chris Duarte.
DeMarcus Cousins playing down there, Brandon Knight, Emmanuel Mudia. The guy remembering is,
if I'm not mistaken, DeMarcus Cousins is not currently allowed to play there because I think he got drunk and fought with a fan in the crowd.
Correct.
And like genuinely threw hands, not just chest pressing and shouting and everything. So I don't think he's allowed to play there currently.
Danilo, yeah, like this is, man, I got to go to Bayamon, Puerto Rico and check out the Vaqueros because like this is, if I knew that two of the greatest Knicks of the 2007 era were out there, this would be must watch.
Wish Diaz was here, James. He would have loved this.
We're a Congrejeros de Santurce show here. We should make it
clear.
In Puerto Rico, we're Congrejeros all day.
I really can't. Does Bad Bunny own the Congrejeros?
Wait,
yes,
Bad Bunny's on the Congrejeros? Wait.
He owns them.
Okay, I was going to say, Bad Bunny's playing for the Congrejeros de Santurce?
I mean, maybe he could, but he wouldn't be the first owner to put himself in a game.
He was in the celebrity game. Speaking of which, I don't know if you guys have seen the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game rosters just came out. The Celebrity Softball. This is not for basketball. This is the Celebrity Softball game this year. My apologies. And it's the oldest I've ever felt in my entire life. Almost anti-guy remembering. It is almost verging into a world where it's not people we should know about in the slightest. Big Boy and the Capital One Bank guy get the top listing. Those are the two names at the very top of this list. Big Boy and 100% Atlanta equivalent, I guess, Capital One Bank guy. We've also got L. Duncan, Funny Marco, Jake Storial, Candy Burris, Maria Taylor, Mariah the Scientist, Nikki Cass, Prince Royce. I've named a person other than Big Boy and I guess the Capital One Bank guy that I know yet. Ronnie DeVoe, Terrell Owens, Javi Lopez, Jermaine Dupri. So a few folks there at the end, but that's a nauseating list of people.
You got to go to watch the Baloncesto Superior Nacional in Puerto Rico.
That sounds like a much better use of your time.
And I also wanted to just let the people know that Ronaldo played in 3 FIBA World Cups for Puerto Rico. So, I'm glad he's still doing it there for the people of he was not born there, but I believe he is of Puerto Rican heritage.
He is born in Staten Island of Puerto Rican heritage, just like myself. And I am feeling so much linkage with him, although I bet he can speak Spanish way better than I can.
So, I think this was a solid pick for the Hall of Guy.
Oh yeah, you picked a Staten Island-born Puerto Rican who played for the Knicks to talk to a Staten Island-born Puerto Rican who loves the Knicks. This is the most pandering you could have done. Like, the only way it would have been more pandering is if you just merged Marty Collins and Renaldo Balkman together, and they just happened to also go to they both went to Temple.
Yeah, someone from Temple who played for the Orioles.
I think we looked it up recently, and there's like maybe 7 players from Temple that have ever made it to professional baseball, period. Even before the baseball program got destroyed, it was not, unfortunately, a baseball hotbed. Though we did, my Temple and then like pro league guys, the 2 of them, Bernard Pierce, that didn't turn out so great once he got to the Ravens, but he got a ring. And then Tavon Young, very good slot corner out of the Owls, got that jersey. Was very confusing to people to see someone with not just a Tavon Young jersey, which was already pretty obscure, but specifically a Tavon Young number 36 rookie jersey, because he switched his number after that first year. So no one knew what I was wearing anytime I got that, but I got in on the Tavon Young stock early.
I'll try to pander to you better next time. I'll figure out your specific heritage and quirks and
find the whitest person that you can and then put them in one of the teams that I root for, and you've knocked out my heritage and rooting passions very quickly. It does not get a whole lot waspier than my very specific
I
background.
believe several white people have played for the
I'm
Orioles.
familiar with a honky or two that has appeared for the Baltimore Orioles historically. There is that image of like the 4 number 1 prospects that they have, and it just keeps being the same cherubic white boy with 0 facial hair and blonde locks surrounding him, and we just keep printing them off. And the Orioles are the Orioles right now. Maybe they'll also still be the Orioles when this comes out. I'm a Knicks ally. I like Renaldo Balkman a lot, and there have been times on the show where we have had someone just blather about the Orioles for a while, and Xavier has deferred to my judgment in that case. Xavier, I think I know what the answer is, but I want to, if you don't mind, formally defer to your judgment. Is Renaldo Balkman a boomerang guy, multinational guy between the Philippines, Venezuela, Mexico, Puerto Rico, the United States?
An island
Spain,
guy.
An island guy. He's hit a lot of the categories that we love here at the show. Is Renaldo Balkman an inductee for the Hall of Guy?
100%. This is one of the easiest ones we've ever had to do. Renaldo Balkman, welcome to the Hall of Guy.
Congratulations to Renaldo Balkman. Congratulations to you, Rodger, for nailing the assignment and picking a perfect person to join us here in this illustrious hall. If people want to join you outside of this little hour that we've had here, where are places that they can find your work?
So I'll have to spell my name, but it's my name, myname.substack.com. Rodger Sherman, RODBER. And then Sherman's a lot easier to spell for most people. It's really not fun. I don't know. It doesn't seem fun to listen to someone spelling something. And I don't know. I'm mainly posting on Blue Sky these days, where it's Rodger.bluesky or .bsky or whatever. But yeah, basically there aren't that many people with RODGER. If you just filter past search results for Aaron Rodgers, you'll get me.
That's a really fun person to share that with. You can find us on Blue Sky too. You can find all of our information at bit.ly/rememberthatguy, all one word, all lowercase. But this has been excellent. Like, truly cannot thank you enough for coming on. It's been great to talk, guys, with you. Hopefully you have enjoyed it as much as we have. We could not enjoy it without the help of producer Craig, coders behind him, and our musical director, Don Ham, who hooked us up with that lovely theme music. Most of all, though, we could not do it without you, our dear listeners. It is for you that we do this every week. It is a delight, and it is been a delight having you on, Rodger. And as we wrap this up, I have been one of your hosts, James.
I've been the very special guest, Xavier.
I've been Rhodes Scholar, Rodger Sherman.
And I'm Diaz, and I'm torn. Is my favorite team that Renaldo Balkman played for Guyama or Guaynabo?
A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol. And fucking pop-up. Shithead, give me 1 second.
Keep it in.
Yeah.
The future of good calls. We'll have pop-ups mid-call.